Hi, good morning, good afternoon. This is Jose Barahona. I'm the General Sales Manager, and we'll have a little slide in a minute so you can see who I am and you can see who Chris is. Today we're going to talk about the user experience, learning, and accounting. So this is part one. So we want to welcome all of you to the webinar. Again, this is the most recent product, the 10.6 version. We normally just have one webinar, but 10.6 turned out to be a real big release. So instead of just trying to put everything in one hour webinar, we split it into two. So it'll be easier for you to follow. Also, we can take more of your questions at the end. The second part of the webinar is next Wednesday at the same time, and you're already signed up by registering for this one. So don't worry about having to re-register. Okay? So who are we? Well, I myself, Jose Barahona, the General Sales Manager of Magaya, and I'm hoping to be able to show you that picture in a minute. That's who we are. And I'm also joined by Christian Lillemitz, like the baseball team, our product manager. He's the one who's going to kind of guide us through all of this and what we're doing and what's going on. So we want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the big differences. Now, one of the major things that you're going to see within this release is really the user interface, or the UI, like these people like to talk about. So we'll go into that. So Chris?
Hi, and thanks, Jose, for the introduction. I'll just get started with a little technical detail. If you have questions, your go-to webinar panel, which is presumably on the right-hand side of your screen, has a questions box where you can type them in throughout the presentation. We'll take them in the end, but you don't have to wait until the end to start entering them. All right? So, yes, let's get right started here. And since we never really go over every single new feature of a release in these webinars, people have asked if there was anywhere they could find everything that's new in a given version of Magaya. And yes, there is. They're called release notes, and you can access them right from your page one. It even has previous versions available there. And the one for 10.6, just to give you an idea why we're not attempting to cover everything, the one for 10.6 is 10 pages long. So do feel free to go through this document and ask anyone in Magaya more about the particular features interesting to you if there's something that we didn't cover in this webinar or the next. Now, here's what we are showing today and next week. As you can see, today we're focusing on the user experience a lot. Several small but important features that help the back office, the users of Magaya. Out of major features, we'll show some accounting stuff and the dimensioner for high-speed cargo reception. I'll also give a sneak preview of the LiveTrack app we're currently developing. And then next Wednesday will be the more fun webinar with the outbound logistics and the customer service-focused features. We'll look at improvements to LiveTrack, transaction tracking, the final mile app for deliveries, and the integration with US Postal Service, which you have been asking for a while. Now we have it in 10.6. All right, but so this is the current part one. So let's jump right into it and start with the bit that's probably the most emotionally engaging for all of us, since it is the face of Magaya, the new user interface of the software. This is just the first step on the journey. We will keep updating the interface to improve user experience in our next releases as well. And so, why did we do it? First of all, the old UI was designed for a much older version of Windows and wasn't matching with our identity really as a technology company bringing innovation to the business community. But it's more than just cosmetics. There are several design principles that help improve user experience that we weren't necessarily following too much. The interface was at times a bit too crowded and distracting with the same functions being in different places on different screens. And so here we really try to streamline your work and eliminate the distractions. Let's take a quick look. Even the login screen has a new look and feel. All right. I'd actually like to start with the list views, since they're probably the most used screens in the software. And here you'll notice the toolbars are at the top now. That's a major change. I still keep sometimes moving my mouse to the bottom of the screen to find the add button where it used to be, but it actually hasn't taken long to get used to it and start loving the one single toolbar at the top that now combines the action icons and the filters and date ranges. And yes, we removed labels here, since the only icon which is not maybe universally understood in all current software interfaces is the actions button. That's Magaya specific, but we kept it looking like a star, and that's the only one in color, so it should really stand out. The others, add, edit, delete, filter, and more detailed information should really be self-explanatory in current software. And of course, it'll still take a bit to get used to, and change is never easy, but this is definitely one of the updates that we believe will benefit you in the long run, organizing these list views. And we also added more white space to make the content easier to view. So in the lines and in the left menu, you'll notice the row height being bigger. It does result in fewer lines of data fitting onto the screen. Most of us have pretty large monitors these days, so seeing better, we believe, is more important than not having to scroll as much. And the filtering is another big change. So it used to be that the indication of looking at filtered data was the unfilter button being active, and that's just a little backwards, and it actually resulted in many support calls where people couldn't see their data and they weren't realizing that they actually had a filter on. So we've added not one but two really clear indicators that you're looking at a filtered list. First, the filter icon itself gets a solid fill, and then the tab at the top gets this little badge. And the unfilter option is now in the drop-down with the filter options. Then we also have new, cleaner icons on the top toolbar, which, by the way, you can have with or without text labels. So let me turn them on here. So now there are labels as well. We reorganized them a little bit to make more sense, and we removed the delete button at the top. It's still available here on the list views, and in shipments, it is now, or it was actually, it is still there in the right-click menu. Okay. Now, talking about shipments, a big change we did here is the master documents. Now, they always get placed at the top of the folder, so it really gives consolidation more structure. So let me add, let's say, a cargo manifest here to this master, and you'll see that it will be placed right at the top. Another thing with shipments is liquidation, which we reorganized to look and feel like a list view, so the top toolbar and everything. And the liquidation status, if I do this liquidation here, the liquidation status is at the top left, and it actually looks the same as the one on the general tab of your shipment, so it's really easy to tell whether the shipment's liquidated or not. And so finally, at the top right, you have your Magaya version with the date of the version as well now. And this is good for when you call support and they need to know, or let's say you're just looking through features available for a certain version. And this information here in the future will also indicate whether there's a more recent version, an update available. So there are more changes, but let's move on for now. And we have also made a newsletter post about this. We've produced a little video even, and there's a one-page quick reference sheet as well. Right, so these are the release notes, but this is the sheet I'm talking about, to highlight the major changes in the interface, and we will attach this to the follow-up email of this webinar as well. And as always, our tech support is open to question and feedback about the interface. Jose, speaking of feedback, have you heard anything out there talking to customers about the new interface already?
Well, you know, this is my third, I guess, interface change that we've seen, and this is the one that really has taken off with our clients. you know, that minimalist approach, which is everything is nice and all the colors are a certain way. I mean, the clients are liking it. Of course, some clients are saying, Jose, I hate change overall. So I said, thank you for being part of Magaya. We'll continue to make changes as so your love for your growth of the product will continue. But at the end of the day, it's meant for the client. It's meant to more streamlined, easy on the eyes, and for them to know exactly what they need to do. So we're really excited about the user interface, what we have.
All right, great. So now let's continue with the most fun and exciting part of any business, accounting. And so this is probably one of the largest areas of improvement in 10.6, actually, taking up 2 of the 10 pages in the release notes, by the way. I picked a few items to talk about or show today, just briefly. So first, I'm not going to show this, but we now have a wizard for your fiscal year closing procedure. And so what it basically does, it transfers the current period income to your retained earnings. It creates these journal entries automatically, and you can later create manual entries to the retained earnings account just to distribute the income if you want to. It runs everything per division. So if you're using divisions in your Magaya accounting, you're covered. And in the end, it automatically also locks the closed accounting period, the fiscal year that it just closed. We've had this feature for a while, but it was only manual. So now it automatically also locks the period for you know, against further editing in Magaya. So that's it in a nutshell. We have materials available, and we're happy to teach you how to do it, but not going to show it on the webinar today. We have a few more accounting features to go. Then you can now receive payment in a currency other than the payment of the invoice. That rolls off the tongue real well. Let's look at it. Let's see how to do it in Magaya. I have an invoice here. I made one yesterday that is 125 Canadian dollars. There you go. And I put the exchange rate to be 1.25 so we don't have to calculate a lot. My home currency here is US dollar. So I'm going to just receive payment against this Canadian dollar invoice. And we've redesigned the interface to support this. So what I'm doing here is I'll actually now check that I want to show invoices from other AR accounts as well, including those in foreign currencies. And then I'm able to just pick that I want to pay in US dollars. And I'm picking this invoice. And I'm paying at $100. Okay, and it's done. The accounting postings in the background will work. We've made sure of that, even if the exchange rate had changed. The one limitation is that either one of the currencies, either the invoice currency or the payments currency, has to be the home currency of the database. So since my database is US dollar, I couldn't have paid this Canadian dollar invoice in pesos, for example. Okay, so the next accounting feature, we've made some major updates to recurring transactions. They now include journal entries, so you can make recurring journal entries in Magaya, and we've added more intervals. You can now have them generated daily even. Then we've added bi-weekly, quarterly, and yearly to the already existing weekly and monthly models. So they're really quite flexible now. In addition, you can set the recurring transactions to generate a number of days before the transaction date. So let's say you're billing someone on the 1st of every month, you can now have the invoice always generated, let's say, a week before. So this applies to all recurring transactions, invoices, bills, payments, etc. So they're much more flexible now for you to use. Then the next one is really powerful. You've been asking for this a lot. We now have it. It's the batch generation of invoices and bills from operations transactions, known as batch liquidation here. Let me show you that real quick. So if I go, this applies to cargo releases, sales orders, pickup orders, and warehouse receipts. So let's say I have many operations a day, they have charges on them, but I want to do the generation of accounting transactions, the billing basically, in the end of the day. So I'll just do some filtering and then select a batch and run through a batch liquidation wizard, which we now have. Oh, looks like these I already have generated. So the moral of the story is you should never practice for a webinar because you use up your cargo releases.
Now, Chris, can I do this for any other operation, not just cargo releases? Can I do it for pickup orders?
Pickup orders, warehouse receipts, sales orders, or cargo releases.
Okay.
Let me see if I have any available here. Interesting. Let's try if I have any unbilled pickup orders. Yes, so here you go. Let me say these were all from today or from this week, how often I want to bill. And let's generate to see out of the charges on these transactions, it finds that I have these invoices and one bill with cost charges, and they are now created in my accounting folder. Okay, so this was a really big one. The next one is 1099 reporting. Okay, technically speaking, it is the 1099 miscellaneous form box 7, the one where you have to report if you paid independent contractors $600 or more in calendar year. We don't have the form in Magaya, but we now have a report that helps you track it. So I have set 2 vendors here as 1099 eligible. They're Test Trucker and John's Auto Parts, and I'm running my 1099 report for this year. And I see that I have paid Test Trucker $800, but for some reason I don't see John's Auto Parts, and we've added actually in the configuration part here of the report a few checkboxes to help you troubleshoot. And so I could, for example, say ignore the $600 threshold. Maybe I've miscalculated, and that seems to be the case. I've only paid $599 this year for John's Auto Parts, so I don't have to include them on this particular report. And here I can always drill down to the actual transactions, like on other reports in Magaya. So we've added this, and now as a final screen here for accounting, a major feature for South America, we have third-party charges known as terceros there, which are basically charges that you can put on your operations transactions, such as shipments, that when liquidated post to asset and liability accounts instead of income and expense. So you could, for example, pass through the charges from your agent abroad to your consignee without them hitting your P&L and showing up as revenue, which is not really your revenue. So this is I'm not going to show it, but we have it and we can help you set it up. And then we have credit card reconciliation. If you've been doing reconciliation in Magaya, you'll already know how it works. It is basically a similar screen for credit card accounts. And the very last one I'm going to show today is probably it's small, but it's probably one of the most important ones. It's that we now have a general ledger. So any, let's say, custom report that you've asked for, and maybe our answer has been that we could do it, but it requires programming, or we can't maybe get to that level of data. Now under the chart of accounts actions button here, you have a general ledger, which literally is every line of every accounting transaction. So you have the date here, you have the reference information of which transaction it belongs to, the applied to party, and the debit and credit. And so this is really the most, let's say, raw data that you can get out of accounting. And just exporting this to Excel will allow you to apply any tools that you use already to analyze this data. So let's take a look. For example, I exported this general ledger file just by doing one click there and opening the CSV file in Excel, and here it is. So I could feed this into whatever I use to analyze my accounting numbers. So this really gives more power to those that want to go deeper than Magaya's reports typically allow. Okay, so let's continue. Jose, do you want to talk about our new tutorial videos?
I do. You know, a lot of the videos that we're showing, not just for the webinar, but also for training. You know, could you open up the YouTube real quick? I mean, this is what it looks like, but let's open up YouTube so you can see what's going to happen. Now, you want to go ahead and select Magaya Software as the name. That's the channel that we have. Now, in here, you're going to go to the videos. You can sort them from newest to oldest and see that we've uploaded a lot lately. In fact, a lot of the things that you're seeing regarding the user interface are right here. So if we look at the first 3 or 4 videos, it's basically talking about the changes that we're making. So you want to take a look at those. You'll also have a lot of our past webinars in there. So if you missed one, you want to take a look, you're going to be in there. We have customer testimonials when we've traveled outside the country to talk to in other places. All those videos are in there, so it gives you a chance to actually not just hear it from us, but also view what's going on. So very important.
All right, that is powerful feature to have. And oh, speaking of videos, actually, let's look at one right now. We have made a video about our Dimensioner product. That's going to be the next one to be covered at an actual customer site. So it's a couple of minutes long. Let's see how it works.
Receiving cargo in your warehouse involves obtaining weight, DIMs, and pictures of freight. When done manually, this process takes up a lot of time, is inconsistent, and prone to error. Now, this entire process can be completed with a click of a button in just a few seconds. The Magaya Dimensioner is a cost-effective freight dimensioning system that is fully integrated with Magaya software. It instantly weighs, dims, and takes up to 5 pictures of your freight. This lightning speed process eliminates human error, redundant data entry, and manual processes, among many other benefits. To show you just how much faster it is compared to manually gathering and entering the data, we've timed a customer doing both. We'll start off with manual data entry. The timer will start once the pallet is dropped onto the scale and the forklift has moved away from the area. Here, the person is documenting the condition of the cargo by taking pictures of it from different angles. You'll see that he also takes a picture of the weight for reference. He then proceeds to get the dimensions of the pallet, and once done with that, he still has to connect the camera, dealing with any cables, chips, or memory cards involved, upload the pictures, and input that data he just gathered into the system. Final time, 2 minutes and 28 seconds. In this next example, we'll time someone capturing that same information, but this time with the Magaya Dimensioner. Once off his forklift, he'll get onto Magaya, where he'll open the Commodities tab and click Capture. This prompts the Dimensioner to start collecting data on the pallet or package. Within seconds, as you see, all of that information is filled out in the system. Final time, 11 seconds. Let's review both times. Manually entering the data took our customer 2 minutes and 28 seconds, while capturing that same information with the Magaya Dimensioner took him only 11 seconds. That's 13 times faster. If you use Magaya wirelessly on a tablet, you can save even more time. Here you can see that the tablet is already mounted onto the forklift, which means that the driver doesn't even need to get off in order to activate the Dimensioner. The driver simply opens a warehouse receipt, goes to the Commodities tab, clicks Capture, and within seconds, the weight, dimensions, and pictures of the cargo auto-populate into the system, as we saw in the previous example. Now let's take a look at all the information captured. To do this in Magaya, you would go to Edit, Commodities, and open the commodity created. You can see that the system entered the description for you, but you can predefine that in your own system. In this case, it's a pallet. It also entered the package type and dimensions. As you see here, this particular client works in centimeters. The dimensions are also very precise. The weight is entered below in whichever unit the customer works in. When you click on the Attachment tab at the top, you can see that there are consistent pictures taken of the cargo. The same angles are used each and every time so that we have the same view. In this view, you see two sides of the cargo, which proves that there's no damage. In the second image, you'll see the other two sides. The third image shows a cube around the cargo, which shows how the dimensions are taken in case there's any discrepancy. An image of the weight is also captured, and in the last photo, you can see the pallet's condition. For more information on the Magaya Dimensioner, visit www.magaya.com/dimensioner.
All right, I just got a text from one of you saying that we're basically taking the easy way out here by just showing a video and not showing how it works. So we actually have one set up here in our office next door. Jose, do you wanna show them how it really works? Let's do a live demo.
Take a walk, sure, man.
All right, okay. So
30 seconds.
Jose, do you have your phone on you?
I do.
I'll call you. Okay, Jose is going to walk to the next room here and put a box onto our dimensioner, just so we can also have some fun, you know. All right. So how it works, as you might have seen from the video, I just have to open a new warehouse receipt, and on the Commodities tab, we now have the button to capture. This, by the way, this line, the creation of the item can also be triggered by tracking or by scanning a barcode. So it doesn't need to be pulled manually from Magaya like I'm doing now. Jose, can you hear me?
Hey, hi, can you hear me?
Did you put the cargo on the dimensioner already?
I did.
Okay, I'm going to hit the to the camera. All right, so it is getting the measurements of the package right now. It is taking the pictures, and here we go. Here's our commodity created. As the video mentioned, the dimensions are very nice and exact, and we look at the attachments. Here are our pictures. There you go. There's Jose next door. He's making his way back here. So it really works, and we invite you to come and check it out yourselves here, or if you want to request a demo, we have this website, magaya.com/dimensioner. So let me hit submit here. I want someone to call me and offer me a demo. So I just signed up for it. All right, very easy. So Jose, do you want to talk about the pricing of the dimensioner?
Before, did you see me?
I did. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I already showed them.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you were smiling very nicely.
I was. Great. So the way the dimensioner works is per transaction. Okay. One of the things that we wanted to look at when we compared hardware was we wanted a low entry point for the clients. We wanted the clients to be able to say, okay, great, let me go with it, and not be worried so much about hardware and upfront fees normally associated with these type of machines. So we have three different products, or I guess price points, right? We have the basic, the premium, and the enterprise. All of them are 1 year, so you don't have to worry about how long it's going to take. It's really a 1-year contract. After that 1 year, it automatically, renews. And then the setup fee is also the same. It's $2,500 for either tier that you decide to go on. Now, here's what you get. You actually get 3 pictures that are IP pictures, and then 2 that will actually tell you how the actual queue began. How did it set it up? A lot of times when we are out there on the forklift, we may not get the full measuring, and all of a sudden we take it to the airline or the vessel line, it comes back and it's different. Well, in this case here, 2 of those pictures is exactly of where the actual queue and the measurements come from. So it's a total of 5 pictures. Now, here's where the change begins between the basic, premium, and enterprise. It's all about the amount of scans that you're going to have. So if you have the basic one, you're going to be having up to 1,500 scans a month, and there's a monthly minimum charge of $500. Okay? After the 500, you're going to pay 75 cents per scan. That's really the idea, for you to be able to move within the tiers that you have. So this would be the basic one for a smaller warehouse. Then we have the premium, which is anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 scans per month, and there's a minimum monthly charge of $1,000. Now, after the $1,000, it's 50 cents per scan, and again, the idea is for you to start growing with all of these. Finally, we have the enterprise, which is for the people who have the largest volume, not necessarily the size of the warehouse, but really the volume of how many scans you're going to have, which is more than 3,000 scans per month. There is no per transaction scan. It's just unlimited, and the monthly fee for that will be $1,500. So we have clients who are actually going for all three different tiers. We have the basic ones, we have the ones who are in enterprise who have a lot of volume, and we also just got out a brand new dimensioner, which is for parcel. You may be thinking, Jose, I don't do pallets. I may just do small pieces. Well, we also do have a parcel dimensioner, which we'll also talk about in the future. We'll send you some pictures so you guys can take a look, and we'll also make a video for that. Chris?
All right, thank you, Jose. This is actually a good intro to the interactive part of today's webinar. We are having a poll. We're asking you to answer some questions. And why it's a good intro is that the Dimensioner product that you now are seeing ready is something that we started maybe a year ago, asking these same questions through a poll on a webinar from you. Would you find something like this valuable? Would you like a device like this? And a lot of you said yes, engaged with us, provided feedback, and now it's out there and working. And I personally find it very nice that we have such active customer base as yourselves for this. Okay, so thank you very much. And the new poll is, today's poll is actually a little similar. It's about a product that we're thinking about making, and it's a mobile app for warehouse. So let's start with some questions, and I will launch the first question. You should see the poll on your screen, and I will let it be there for a couple of minutes. So this app that we're planning to make is not just for Magaya WMS customers, also for cargo system customers, anyone really who has a warehouse and might not be using Magaya, the mobile tools provided by Magaya currently, anyone. So basically the question is, do you have a warehouse? If yes, do you use any mobile technology tools? And the answers that you could select from are yes, and I use Magaya WMS Mobile. Yes, and I use a regular barcode scanner with Magaya barcoding. I think it's a little cut off there. It should say barcoding, which is our plugin. Then yes, I do have a warehouse and I use third-party apps. Then yes, I have a warehouse and I don't use any mobile tools. So this is if you get away with Excel and paper a lot. And then finally, there's also the option that no, I don't operate any warehouse whatsoever. There. So 40% of you have already voted. I'm going to keep it open for a couple of more seconds. Now, where this is, if you didn't see it pop up on your screen, these questions and answers may be on the right-hand side where you would type in questions. There's also the polling area. Okay, so almost half of you have now voted. That's great. Just a couple more seconds to answer the first question, just to get an idea who you are in terms of warehousing needs and capabilities today. Okay, so I'm going to close this in 3, 2, 1. More than half of you have voted. Thank you very much. And let me share the results as well. All right, so we have a pretty even distribution here. All right, and let's ask the next question. All right, this is really the key question. So if Magaya had a mobile app running on Android and iOS, just to be clear, not on the Windows mobile that we currently have, for warehouse operations, what would be its most needed features for you? So if we had an app, what would you want this app to have? The options are, and you can select multiple here. You can check all of them if you want all of them, but really try to think about what's like really important for you. So to create a new warehouse receipt on this app, just to receive cargo, to take pictures of items with this mobile device and easily attach them to the items right there, to scan items out, so this would be for outbound, for shipment, for cargo release, to verify the outgoing items, or to capture weights and dims of the items in the warehouse. And there were 5 options available, so I put other as the 5th because, again, we're still in the phase where we're very open to all kinds of ideas what you would like to have in a mobile app for warehousing. Okay, almost half of you have already voted. Let's keep this open for a little bit longer. Again, you should see the poll popping up on your screen. If not, maybe on the right-hand side, it would be there. Okay. By the way, many of you have already started typing in questions, which is great, and one of us is actually already answering some of them where the answer is as simple as just sending a link. So this is good. Just keep going. We will address the questions in the end as well. All right. So I'm closing this poll and asking, or let's see the results. Okay. So again, almost all of you who answered, really over 90%, would want to take pictures and attach. That's and capture weight and dims and receive cargo. So again, it's a pretty even distribution. And final question before we proceed, it's a simple one, a yes or no question. Would you like to give input as we plan, develop, and test this app? If you hit yes here, you might get a call from me. I'm sorry. All right. So. Okay, getting some answers pretty quickly here. Almost half of you have voted already. This is our last question. We will continue with the presentation after this. All right, so going to keep this open for a couple more seconds. Question is, would you like to give input in the process of making this app? All right. So let me close this poll now. All right, most of you, 2/3 say yes. That's a pretty good result for me. Thank you. And let's continue with the presentation. All right, so the last slide about 10.6 is, there was no better name for it than just other general user experience improvements. They're the small but important things. Again, there are many more of those which you would have to look at the the release notes for, and I encourage you to do so. It's an interesting read. So the first one, this is for all of you who are on Magaya Cloud, and I know that's many of you. So Outlook used to not work. Now it does. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to show it. So you are now able to send emails out of your Magaya on the cloud using your local Outlook installation that's on your computer. Okay. And the other thing that you're now able to do is that you can open attachments attached to the transactions in Magaya on the cloud using software that you have on your local computer, such as Microsoft Office. So let's say you can click on an Excel attachment on a warehouse receipt, and it will open in your Excel installation in Magaya. So for that, you would have to install a little extra tool that we have, a how-to article in the knowledge base how to do this about. So do inquire, but it works now. Okay. So the next one I'm actually going to show, it's about events. Events are very helpful in Magaya to internally and externally provide some sort of accountability, some sort of tracking detail. They are available, as you know, on LiveTrack as well for your customers to view. So I'm looking at a warehouse receipt here with a few events entered, and first of all, look at the last 4 columns. These are new columns in 10.6 that you can't delete. So they're who created and when this event. So really provide some accountability and a more accurate log, let's say, using events. And the other new feature about events is that events can now trigger transaction tracking emails. And I'm going to show this in the next webinar, actually, because transaction tracking is part of part 2. So do show up. And but I'll just open this event, and I'll show this checkbox here that this could be automatically checked. And having added this event to the warehouse receipt could have triggered a transaction tracking email. But this is something we've been asked about a lot as well, specifically in the warehouse receipt context, saying something like, you know, I want my customer to be able to see this, to get the tracking email, or see get the tracking email only after I've, let's say, attached certain documentation to this warehouse receipt, or completed my quality control, or things like that. So now you can decide when the email goes out by adding a certain event. Okay, and then as the very last thing to show today, under general user interface or user experience improvements, let's say, would be improvements to custom fields. Again, custom fields are something that every one of you could use, and we know that it's heavily used out there. So what custom fields updates do we have? Let me show this using a quotation as an example. So I'm going to create a vendor field. I want my user to enter who the vendor is of those goods and services that I'm offering to my prospect. Okay, and so there's a new field type. We used to have lookup, which can pull from entities, but we now have a lookup with address. So I can say that this vendor field on the quotation will have an address field next to it, and it will be easy to show it on document templates as well. So let me click OK here and go to a quotation of mine. And here you are, custom fields. I'll pull John's Auto Parts, and the address is available as well. So this is now a column, and you can show it on a document template. All right, and then the other major improvement to custom fields is that custom fields can now have default values. So any type of custom field can have a default value set by you. Default value used to be blank. The user had to put something in the custom field for it to have any value. So let me, for example, add here a field that should maybe indicate whether this quotation is approved by a manager or not. Okay, so approved, and so that could logically be a yes or no field. And I can say that the default value is no. Okay, so the user always has to provide input to say that this was indeed approved. And again, just looking at the custom fields, we have an approved field here with the default no. I would have to change it to yes. All right, so this actually concluded the 10.6 features, but as we do often in these webinars, we give a little sneak preview of what we're building for you in the next versions already, okay? And actually, you're looking at the first thing. We are updating our document templates for 10.7. So you're seeing the first prototype of the new quotation, but all the document templates will have a nicer, more modern design, and more importantly, we'll have your logo, a placeholder for your logo incorporated. So we know about probably more than 500 of you have already uploaded your logo into the system, which can be used in a live track login page, etc. And now those logos will be on the standard documents as well without you having to do any extra work. All right, and then finally, let's go back to the slides here. We are working on a live track app, okay? This is something we've been talking about for a while. You've been asking for a while, and we're excited to announce that it will come out in 10.7. Let me show. I actually have something on my phone here. I can just show a little preview.
Yeah. While you're doing that, Chris, one of the things that's important about the live track is for you guys to get a better understanding is we're doing it from the ground up. This is a brand new application that we're doing. It's not like the track to go that you have. It's think about the client who logs into your website right now. Instead of doing that, he's going to go to their app and be able to actually have a look at everything that is going on. So we've done it from the ground up. It's impressive. It's fast. It's really nice, and I'll let Chris tell you more about it.
Well, for now, that's really all there is. Again, it will come out in 10.7, and it will require something called LiveTrack Plus. Jose, do you want to cover a little bit what LiveTrack Plus is?
Yeah, basically, what the LiveTrack Plus is something that we have recently brought out. A lot of clients have been requesting, when they do have the LiveTrack, custom LiveTrack, they say, Jose, I want my clients to be able to send me instructions to pick up cargo, or I want them to send me instructions of what they want me to do with their cargo in the warehouse. So instead of the customer sending them emails, the customer is now going to the portal and sending out information as to the next available shipment or the release or generating a pickup order. Well, we realized that a lot of these clients had the same needs, and we had all of these plugins separate. What we've done is we've actually combined the custom LiveTrack and the online features, such as the online shipping instructions, online bookings, for the customer to have one main tracking. Okay. Now, there isn't really a big difference when it comes to how much bandwidth you're going to be using or whatnot. In reality, it's just bundling up all of those into one main plugin. And in that case, those of you who have LiveTrack Plus, which is about 60, not a whole lot, again, it just rolled out, about 60 of you will have this new LiveTrack application included. So if you are interested in this LiveTrack application, we are going to ask you to go ahead and move into the LiveTrack Plus for you to be able to use that one specific application. And maybe your client may run the application, may log in and tell you, hey, I tried to log in with a LiveTrack, you don't have it. So we're going to try to be able to get you guys a trial of all these things for you to start playing around with it and have a basic idea of how you can better connect with your client. So that's what the LiveTrack Plus is all about, Chris.
All right, great. So now time to answer your questions. We have nothing more to show at this point. Let me see if I can see the questions. All right.
So somebody asks us, what is the go live date
for the 10.6 release?
Yes.
It was about
last week.
2 weeks ago. No.
Well, 2 weeks ago unofficially.
Anyway, it's out. It's already there. If you go and do an online update now, you will get 10.6. All right. So, question: if we're running Magaya from the cloud, when will it be updated to the new version? That is a great question.
Usually we have the schedule that runs.
Yes, it's running on some sort of a schedule, but I do believe that you can contact support and request it being done on an as-need basis as well. But yes, the ones on Magaya Cloud, we update the versions. Will there be an option to batch liquidate in the shipment list? No, we did not include it in the shipment list. In the shipments, you would still run a consolidation per master on the master shipment. For now, it's like that. Again, if there's more need for that, let's talk about it. Maybe it can be included in the next releases. But for now, the batch liquidation is cargo releases, sales orders, pickup orders, and warehouse receipts. All right, so the question is, how do I specify which entities qualify for 1099? There is a new checkbox, 1099 eligible. That's on your vendor and carrier profile under the payment terms tab. All right, can we get a copy of these slides to show to our accounting people? Well, I was hoping the accounting people will be on this webinar, but if you must, yes, everyone who signed up will get a follow-up email that has the recording, that has the new UI cheat sheet, and the actual slides. I don't know if we're including, but if you want, this was asked by Julio. I can send the slides to you. However, if I may, there is actually, again, as we mentioned, from your Magaya page 1, you can get this document, which is the release notes for 10.6. And here, if you look at it, I have all the accounting features, including the ones that I didn't cover. I have those from pages 4 to 6 listed. So definitely go through this, and with the help of this recording, and if that doesn't help, calling our support, we should get you there. When will the new interface be rolled out for the users? It's already out there.
Just use the online update option. Have everyone log out. If you need instructions, you can also find that also in the knowledge base to be able how to update your system. So
yes. All right. We have multiple warehouses in our Magaya. Can I have multiple dimensioners, and how would they be selected? Yes, you can. The dimensioner setup is something that you actually do in a specific computer. So you can have 5 computers in your warehouse all pull the data from a single dimensioner. Then you just have to watch out when you ask for that data so that you don't try to do it at the same time. But you can have different computers linked to different dimensioners. So that does work. How can the handheld trigger the dimensioner? That is a good question. Currently, so if you saw in the video, what the person in the video was using was a Microsoft Surface tablet, and so Microsoft tablets are currently the only ones, because they run Windows 10 as the same operating system as your desktop computers run, that you can basically just run the full installation of Magaya in it. So what you can do is have Magaya installed on a Microsoft Surface tablet. Somehow buy a case probably for the warehouse that offers a little more protection, and mount it on a forklift, or just hold it in your hand and use a stylus, and you can just open a new warehouse receipt and hit the capture button, like I did in the presentation here, or like the person on the video did. That's currently the only way to use it on some kind of a mobile solution, because the WMS mobile the current WMS mobile device doesn't allow it, and for the new WMS app that we're thinking about, we don't know yet. But the Microsoft Surface tablets enable this. All right. So the question is, how does the system know what type of piece it is that you're scanning with the dimensioner? In the demo, it specified box, and I think in the video it had specified pallet. There is a setting in the configuration where you specify a default package type for things that are scanned on the dimensioner. Again, after scanning, you can go and change it if you are doing mixed types of packages. But if most of what you're scanning is a pallet, you set it to pallet, and you can pretty much forget it. Or again, you can do multiple dimensioners for multiple types of packages. And as Jose mentioned, there's the small parcel size package dimensioner also getting ready now. What are the maximum DIMs the dimensioner can capture? Sydney, we would have to get back to you with that. I'm not sure. I know that ours sits 12 feet high and is pretty wide. But I don't know if there's probably some maximum, but I don't have this data now. We will have to get back to you with this. All right. Is the dimensioner available on the Magaya cargo system?
yes.
Yes, it is. All right. So if there's a question about an app. If you're considering making an app, why not make an app that will cover more features like shipping, documents, quote, etc. Like when we go out on pickups. Yes, the thing with the core solution versus apps is that we're going at it like it's quite common in the industry as well, by feature area. So in, let's say, a family of Magaya apps, it is totally possible that there will be a specific app for a specific need in the future. And we started in the order of, first we made the final mile app for pickups and deliveries and capturing the customer signature. Then we're now getting ready to release the LiveTrack app that will basically do everything that the web version of LiveTrack does. And we're thinking about an app for warehousing and maybe a couple more in the future, but to try to take the whole functionality of the Magaya core product and put it on a mobile would be a task that would be stuck with for years. So releasing apps for specific purposes that all talk to the backend database is the strategy that we're going with. So, but Nancy, that's a good question, and if you have specific needs that you would like on handheld devices, definitely let's talk about it.
Yeah, you have to remember, the question prior to it asked, can you use the cargo system with a dimensioner? Well, this new mobile app that we're doing will be able to work with the cargo system. A lot of the big needs when we talk to customers is, Jose, why can I use a handheld to be able to put DIMMs and take pictures? So we're looking at those needs that the clients currently have and enhancing it within, the products that we currently have. So the idea is to say, here's a new LiveTrack app, here's a new WMS mobile app, and we're going to be building on things. We already have an idea of the first phase, the second, third, and fourth phase of what we're going to be using. But again, a lot of it is driven by what the customer is, their needs are, and how competitive they'll be. So we think that this first idea for the WMS mobile it's really going to be a game changer, especially for those of you who just use cargo system. Because you may tell me, Jose, I don't need to use purchase orders. I don't need to use sales orders. I don't need to do anything else other than just scan, take pictures, dimensions. So we're listening to you, and we're making those changes. But for sure, let us know how we can go ahead and even help you further, Adriana, with that. Okay?
All right. So Adriana is asking, can you use Mac Mail if you don't use Outlook? I wish. If you picked up, I'm actually a Mac user myself, but how Magaya works is still on Windows. And I was actually, to say Outlook was a little lazy of me. I guess the actual term is the Windows default email client on your Windows. So so Outlook is just the most common, but Windows email client is the only one besides the built-in Magaya email that would work. And unfortunately, no app, no Mac yet. We're not there. Okay, the Outlook and attachments tool. Where do we get it? Does tech support need to be involved in installing or troubleshooting? There is a how-to article with a link to download the tool and how to go through these steps. Since this is already the second question about it, maybe we could also send a link to that specific article in the follow-up. Let's do that. But yes, the knowledge is available in our knowledge base, and it was in our a link to this was in our 10.6 version newsletter as well. So the answer is not necessarily. If you need help, support will always help you, but you should be able to.
Reach out to support.
For our cloud, yes, reach out to support at first. That's easier. But we'll send you the article as well. All right. Question is about the custom fields. Can they have a user-specific set of permissions so that only certain users would have access to the custom field, such as the one I created, which is the approve yes or no? Currently, no. Custom fields access are record level. If someone can edit the warehouse receipt, they can edit custom fields on that warehouse receipt as well. All right, so there's another question from a Mac user. When transaction links are sent to me, they always appear blank. Are there plans to correct this? I personally don't know about this issue, so this is something that would have to go through support. The transaction tracking links should be platform agnostic. They're just links that open the transaction in a web browser. So they should work, or maybe there's an issue with a specific browser. But this is a tech support issue that should be possible to fix. When is 10.7 out? A brave soul out there is asking. That is Jesus Corona. One of our own salespeople is using this to ask me questions. That is interesting. That is great. Yeah. Jesus, 10.7. We're aiming to have it out late this year. That is the current plan. Again, we don't have a specific date yet. And there was that same question again. How much will LiveTrack Plus cost? So LiveTrack Plus, if I'm not mistaken, is $99 a month, right, whereas the regular LiveTrack is $49. So for an extra $50, you get premium features such as the ability to create transactions online, right, all of them, shipping instructions, bookings, right, pickup orders, and the app. And again, by the way, the app we don't count by user. So however many phones you have it installed on doesn't matter. It's just the ability for your database to be connected to using this app. Again, another question: if Dimensioner is available on Magaya cargo system? Yes, it is. Is LiveTrack Plus available today? Yes, it is. It's already out there. All right. Which manual explains how to control the transmission of tracking emails? So this should be under the transaction tracking knowledge base manual. Question by Stephen here. So this I'll show that in the next webinar as well. By the way, this was just because I was talking about events anyway. I mentioned it quickly, but we'll actually go through it next Wednesday as well. But the knowledge base. If you go to knowledge base and look at transaction tracking. Probably getting started article, it should now include the events bit as well as it was added in 10.6. Next webinar will be next Wednesday at the same time, 1:30 Eastern time. There was a question about next webinar. Okay, so there's a question about the general ledger accounting feature in the data export to Excel. Will user be able to identify total revenue for business even though shipments are collect and only net income is being captured within Magaya's accounting module? The lines that we export are from the accounting module, not from the operations. So you won't see, if in the course of your liquidation, let's say you have collect charges and you add, you have the liquidation set up in a way that it just generates one line for the invoice, like let's say agent profit share, and not detail the lines, then that's the line you would get in the export. You could try setting the liquidation configuration to show detail in all the generated transactions, so that it keeps the line-by-line charges on the accounting transactions as well, and then you would be able to, export those out. All right, we have an answer here actually from one of our team members that gave me a hint that the max dims for Dimensioner are 7 by 7 by 6, so that would be feet. Yes, so 7 feet by 7 feet by 6 feet would be the maximum dimensions for the Dimensioner, and it is actually that information. If you want more information about it, the Magaya.com website, under the solutions and plugins, there's a Dimensioner website that also has some Q&A. And it's accurate to 1/2 inch, actually, the big Dimensioner. Okay. All right, so there's a question, what's coming in the next webinar again? Actually, let me show you. That's a good point, since we covered it in the beginning. So next webinar, what's new in LiveTrack? We've done several improvements there. In transaction tracking, so this would include having the tracking emails triggered by events. New features in the Final Mile mobile app, and the USPS integration, postal service, so you can create shipments out of Magaya and print labels as part of our Express Link plugin, which used to only work with FedEx and UPS so far. Now we have USPS as well. All right, so the question again was about the specific permissions to custom fields that, and there it's the same. It's the record. It's the record level edition permissions that would apply. So if you don't have edit permission to cargo release, let's say, you won't be able to edit custom fields either. And we just got some more information that we can actually go higher with the dimensioner. Even though the official dimensions are 7 by 7 by 6, we could go
higher if we need to. Correct.
Higher if we need to. Yes.
Higher certification if we need to.
All right. Okay, question, if we made any changes to the warehouse locations logic. So specifically, if a cargo is added to a specific location, will I be able to add cargo to that same location even though it is full? There are parts of the system that will not allow you to do that. If you use the full setup of the smart warehouse, then the tasks for replenishment and put away will not do that. But manually, we don't have a way that, let's say if you don't have the smart warehouse fully set up, where you just go to a location and try to add more cargo, that it will block you. That feature we currently do not have. All right, so there's a question about can someone assist with the Magaya barcode plugin? Yes, this was from Jerome. Jerome, we will make sure someone contacts you. Then there's a question about amending payment to a vendor if it has been recorded in accounting already. Again, this is something, there are specific rules to what you can amend and edit in accounting and what you can't. This would be it's a little too general, I think, to go through now. So Mitchell, if you could direct this to our tech support, I'm sure they'll be able to walk you through that. All right, so the question is, can we see tracking and the same time of scan and the time of scan on the scan view? So this was, I guess, about the dimensioner. The tracking number is something that you can actually scan the actual tracking number on a barcode scanner, so it will be recorded. And now where you place the cameras is there's actually some flexibility there. We don't tell you the exact camera angle, so if you always want to put the label on one side and you make sure there's a camera nearby, we can actually technically push up to 7 cameras on this device, 5 and plus the 2 built-in ones on the scanner. So I'm sure there would be a way to record a picture of a tracking label as well if you don't want to scan the actual tracking number into Magaya. Yes, there was another question from someone who came late. Can there be a copy of the PowerPoint and key highlights emailed? We will have the full recording sent out to you. And that is it. We've done all the questions. We have Jose, was there anything else that we wanted to show before closing? So if not, I will just leave everyone with page 1 of Magaya, where you can click on release notes to read the release notes, see the news with software updates. For example, our webinar announcement was here, and where you can request a case with tech support, so they would call you back. I just wanted to go through that quickly, that your Magaya page 1 does offer a lot.
All right, perfect. we want to thank everyone for being here with us today. I think it was it's exciting things. A lot of great things are happening, and we hope to be able to have you experience that. All the things that we're developing and getting you a quick glance of what we're working on. So, thank you from myself and Chris.
Thank you.